Here's what happened, guys. Adriana is planning to fly out to California soon for a few days. When we decided to book the flight, the price, though, had increased twice in 24 hours, which was absurd to see that happen. Dynamic pricing is seen a lot with airlines, hotels, and ride sharing companies. What is important to remember, though, is that just because we're seeing it more doesn't mean it makes it right. Actually, it's kind of predatory because as a business, you're extracting the most money from someone when they have the fewest choices. It's not a recipe for brand trust and loyalty, and it actually can start to build resentment with Americans buying your services or products, which can be ignored in the short term. But short term thinking has gotten our country into big messes like national debt being over $39 trillion, the weakening of the US dollar. With each generation, the purchasing power of the dollar goes down. And younger people, their future and livelihood have been intergenerationally stolen from them through this hidden tax of inflation. A dollar today is worth roughly half the value of a dollar back in 2000. And when Gen Z is the most in debt generation in the history of the US, it shouldn't be a surprise that resentment is growing and support is building for terrible ideas like socialism and communism that would take away your right to own your small business. In all of these messes, though, and even with the kind of predatory behavior here, there is an opportunity for small businesses to provide an alternative future of trust and more predictability for not just the people that are buying your products and services, but then you can lead by example as small business owners. And when we come together, we can lead by example for Americans to be able to have a future where there is more trust and more predictability. Welcome back to the RD Week show. Happy Friday, guys. So I want to share with you what yesterday I had shared the article about Walmart. Let me get that back up here so you guys can see this. For digital price labels. So Walmart, it's here in an article in CNBC, Walmart digital price labels are coming to every store shelf in US by the end of 2026. And then I mentioned yesterday that in Whole Foods, I saw electronic pricing. And so this is coming for dynamic pricing. Now, depending on what boundaries get put on dynamic pricing through legislation, right now there are bills being introduced in a number of different states. But it gets into this idea that we have to take the time to think about is this actually right to move more into this direction? Do we want this for our future? And as small business owners, we're early adopters with a lot of new forms of technology. And with dynamic pricing, there is a lot of AI that is used in dynamic pricing to be able to analyze all the different data and figure out what's going to be the best price point. And if you're not even familiar with dynamic pricing, it is the change of price based off of different inputs. And so it could be demand, it could be preferences. And so dynamic pricing, it can get to a point where you can, as I just said with the flights, where the price of the flight can change twice within 24 hours. Well, you got to think about that we can think about it each for our own life. Does that help to make life more predictable going into the future or more chaotic going into the future? And personally for me, I would want the future to be more predictable, for me to have more trust when it comes to paying for something like flights. But with something that we're seeing with the article with Walmart, how they're coming out with electronic pricing, what we can see is there's a trend, especially with bigger businesses. We talked about that yesterday with how the lower quality, the quality goes down with the bigger business usually. It's something we're noticing too with bigger businesses across the industries, that there's more implementation for dynamic pricing in the name of efficiency. Well, what can that have for an impact in the short term? And we've got to continue to ask those questions. And as small business owners, there's an opportunity here to provide an alternative future of taking a stand against this for dynamic pricing and actually coming back to predictability for pricing and creating a better cadence of change in price that you can actually let the people that you are serving through your products or services to be aware of and to understand, and then it can actually be used in marketing to say, hey, we actually care genuinely about creating more predictability and trust for you into the future. And so we're not going to go down this path of dynamic pricing where it could get to the point, because we know where this is going, where this could be, we can guess, let's put it that way. We can't predict with 100% certainty here, but we can look back at history as examples of where this could be going, which is that it's going to get to the point where you are going to the grocery store and you're grabbing a carton of milk and it says one price on the electronic label, and then you pull it off the shelf and then the price could increase. And of course, there's the opportunity of it could potentially decrease, but do you even want that unpredictability there, the uncertainty there? That's a better word. The uncertainty there. No, like I want to know, okay, if I'm budgeting this amount to go for the grocery stores for my weekly groceries, I can expect this because that's how it was just a few days ago or last week. And of course, barring a crazy economic crisis or an event, a global event, that I can trust that the price isn't going to change that dramatically, and I can actually prepare myself better. And as Americans, when we are able to have more stability in our lives, more predictability, and from there be able to build trust more, it can be easier just as small business owners to be able to operate your business when there's more, you're prepared more for the future. But then just as Americans, in our everyday life, it can make it easier to navigate our everyday life, because when we're in chaos, and when we're in a lot of chaos, that could be the environments that we're in, how we grew up as kids, or in the chaos of uncertainty about the future, if that's with the war in Iran, to global economic crisis, increase of oil prices, what that effect could have on the gas prices, to groceries. When we are being inundated with more and more chaos, and it's just hard to even get by in our day, it becomes a lot more difficult to operate our business, a lot more difficult to be able to show up the best we can for the people that we're serving, that we're taking care of, that we're providing for. And what that can lead to for our nation is a crumbling nation. And we have to fight for what is beautiful, good, and true about this country, and preserve what is great about this country, one of which is the ability to own our small business in this economic system that we're in, which has been abused and taken advantage of quite a lot, and especially for younger people, has not been able to provide as better opportunity for quality life. If we were to look back even 10 years ago, or even 15 years ago, back to 2010. Genuinely, if you were to ask that, okay, was it better life? Is life better now for quality life now or back in 2010? It's worth asking around and seeing what people say to you. Because what I've noticed is that it's not. There's a lot of messes. There's a lot of potential here. And I've had so many amazing conversations with small business owners that tells me that there's for our future, we have so much potential, and it does get me excited for the future. But we have to make sure that we are recognizing the time that we're living in right now, which is that there is massive change that is unfolding here. And that we have absolutely an opportunity to channel that change moving forward, to make America's future a small business renaissance, and to educate the public about how we can differentiate from what is going on with bigger businesses that are deciding to move more towards dynamic pricing. Because really, what I could guess is just because they were like, they're going to, even though they may not like it, they're still going to come to our store. They're still going to buy our services. They're still going to buy our products. It can be that hubris that can get us in a big trouble for the long term as a country. And we got to push back against that as small business owners. So when you look back in American history, where early on, the way those transactions worked was through haggling, which is what we're noticing now with dynamic pricing as the newer version. But we're now, instead of human to human, we're now facing off with human to algorithms. And in the end, that just becomes even more exhausting for us as human beings. And this is where we got to make sure we're putting the priority of human first here as we move forward in the future, rather than AI first. because as small business owners, we can put boundaries on AI because we are early adopters. And we don't just have to adapt to the future for what people are telling us. You absolutely have so much power here in shaping the future. And when we come together as small business owners, there's over 36 million small businesses. When we unite and come together, we absolutely have a big impact, not only in the economy, but then in society overall. And we cannot forget that either. So haggling was how it used to be done. And I think back to my experience with haggling when I went and visited Chiang Mai markets in Thailand, and went to street market vendors and had to haggle back and forth. That it was fun for a little bit, but to imagine doing that constantly, it would be exhausting. And so what happened was that in the 1950s, 1960s is where it got popular. Was there was a one price policy that came out, and one of the leaders to make it popular was Macy's founder Roland Macy, who was one of the people to popularize this one price policy, where it's okay, fixed price, this is what it is, get the price tag set up there. And the reason for the change was that actually was coming from a moral perspective here, which I believe is really important to bring back. To think that back in 1970s, early 1971, you could say that 90% of adult Americans identified as Christian, and now that's all the way down into the low 60s. And that was back in 2017. So I can imagine it may have continued to trend downward, noticing that there is a resurgent, which gives me a lot of excitement. It makes me feel excited for the future. And I've come back to my faith recently in Catholicism. But it was based off of this, with haggling, it was thought of as dishonest. Where you're trying to figure out the price. It could be different per person based off of someone's skills with haggling. And it can be unfair for those that just were the vulnerable, that didn't want to, that had a really hard time being able to haggle there. And again, immoral was the word that would come up with this. So that happened for the one price policy, but now we're getting into this new version of dynamic pricing. And this is an opportunity, again, to be able to communicate to people that you're serving that, hey, we aren't going to just in real time raise the prices, but instead we're going to make sure that you are prepared for any price changes. So here's the price. And then even bring them into the process. Be like, okay, well, we got to check each week for seeing what the raw materials are going to cost, what additional transportation costs are going to be piling up, what we could be noticing moving into the future. As a small business owner, it's going to be important to be even more educated about your industry, because if you understand all the basics of your industry, at worst, you're going to be a better overall decision maker. At best, you're going to be unstoppable. And the chaos that we're experiencing right now, it is getting to the point where we have to step up and be able to understand more about our industries. And there are over 1,000 industries. And so you don't have to know every single industry, but to make sure that you are a master of understanding and knowledge in your industry is so important moving forward. Because as I said, at best, you're going to be unstoppable as a small business owner. And then the other important aspect here is that, you can lose opportunity. Like when I think about that for people that are coming in, that are buying your services and products, there are opportunities where there's opportunity costs of time, of energy, and trying to figure out, okay, how to budget and make sure that you're set up right going into the store. And then with dynamic pricing, that can create more chaos, add on more opportunity costs of uncertainty, and just think of that stress that you can carry throughout your day. And we're already feeling a lot of stress here. It can compound. And so to be a place of relief as a small business where they can come in and they know what to expect, that actually can become more and more valuable moving forward into the future. And I think it's going to get, I believe it's going to get way more valuable moving forward in the future, and genuinely caring about the people that you're serving and showing that to them, and bringing them into the experience of make sure they realize that they're actually acknowledged and taken care of for, and you as a small business owner genuinely want to make sure that their quality of life is improving for the long term. That's going to go a very long way, more so than I believe now. And I don't even think yet like we really realize how valuable that's going to be moving to the future. But this is something this is an opportunity here. We cannot miss on this opportunity for the massive change that we're experiencing in the history of our country, and we can see that around the world that's happening. Because I do believe America's future leaders are small business owners, and we have to come back to our moral principles here. And that is a way to look into the future, is to bring back moral principles of honesty, of communicating with integrity, of honoring our word, of being courageous and telling the truth, telling what is going on, being transparent. This is absolutely going to be so important moving forward for our country, because we've got to preserve what is great about our country, and small businesses are heart of the economy. And when you see that in different towns where small businesses, there's not a thriving small business community, and you just have like a big business that comes in and then pulls out, it completely takes away the heart of the economy, or the heart of that community. And we have to stop that from happening. And so we got to continue to make sure that we're improving across the industries for small businesses, because when small businesses are thriving, the quality of life of communities improves. So if you are a small business owner who wants to connect with other small business owners in person to shape the future of the economy and the future of our country, and thinking back to all these different industries, then you can come to A Future Fest, where you can register as afuturefest.com. But I think about the economy. You have over 1,000 industries here. When you come in and you connect with other small business owners in different industries and get different perspectives, you can start to notice the patterns, and then it can be easier to prepare for the future. And then when you are feeling more prepared for the future, it's easier to predict what could be happening. And again, you can't 100% predict, but when it feels easier, then you can feel more more stability in the business, and then in your overall life, which can continue to help you to continue to move forward as you continue to operate your business. So again, where you can register is afuturefest.com. That's going to be happening January 14th, 15th, 2027 in Charleston, South Carolina. Plans to have over 300 small businesses across business owners coming together across industries across the country, and excited for that event. And then I will see you guys next week.